guys, here it is, the long-awaited video. Not really long-awaited, but it's what I've been talking about. We're going to go over first aid kits, and we're going to go over from like very basic stuff all the way up to like full-blown trauma stuff. Now that being said, first aid kits are really important. It doesn't matter if you're trying to be tactical or whatnot. Just something in your range bag alone is going to go a long way. People get hurt, all right? And I'm not talking about like a sucking chest wound. I mean, day in, day out, at least once a week instead of day in, day out. Once a week. We get someone, maybe they cross their thumbs and they get a little slide bite or something, and they need a Band-Aid. So, bare minimum, everybody should have a boo-boo kit. Real simple stuff, all right? For me, I like to carry my boo-boo kit. So, this is my little 2-day assault pack, and in the very top, you open it up outside of lamps and lights and all that. Some real simple stuff. It's just a little baggie with Band-Aids. That's it. You know, that's all you need. Sometimes you need to just cover a little cut. Now that's kind of important when, you know, you're out in the field or whatever, and you just don't want to get an infection. You don't want to get crud inside of an open wound. So something as simple as Band-Aids, maybe some, there goes the backpack, some antibiotic ointment, and all that stuff can just be bought at your local Walgreens, CVS, or buy it on Amazon. Moving up from there, all right, because that's just a couple of Band-Aids. You can buy just little first aid kits. Each vehicle that I have has just a basic first aid kit in it, outside of the other things. Speaking of Amazon, if you go to Amazon and you look up IFAK, IFAK, so individual first aid kit, you can find IFAK pouches, but you can also find fully completed IFAKs. Now you have to be mindful when you order these, because some of them can be kind of big. I know I myself have ordered a few of these. This is one I ordered. Now it looks nice, but it's really, really thick. Now the problem with this as an IFAK is if you try to put this on the back of your gun belt or something, there's no way you're going to be able to sit in a vehicle. You can't maneuver with something this big. The items that come in here, this one I like because once you undo the buckle, it is a tearaway. All right. So you can grab right up here, and it's going to tear right away from this. And then you're left with this. So this right here is more in line with what I keep in my truck. Outside of the basic first aid kit, this is what I have floating around for more extensive injuries. Not everything that I want was included in this. So I not only bought this kit, but then I bought extra stuff to put inside this kit. Some examples would be this right here. This is the hyphen vent chest seal. All right, you get two of them. One is for the front, one is for the back. You can't screw this up. The instructions are right there. Okay, this is always good. Also thrown in here, which was not included, a little bit of combat gauze. It was just basic, simple stuff. Overall, this is actually a pretty good pouch. It comes with tourniquet, comes with some emergency compresses, comes with your scissors, splint, which I've heard good things and bad things about these splints. As in, some people just don't like them because they feel like they're useless. You get some more compression gauze, an extra pair of scissors that I've added because 1 is none, 2 is 1. Okay. The other thing that I added to this, which was not included, and this is not something I would suggest anybody just grab if you don't know how to use it, but a nasopharyngeal. All right. This is basically I don't want to say it's a one size fits all, but it's good for an adult. It's not something you would use for pediatric care. And there's other things in here like space blanket, things like that. So, for what it is, when you order it, it's a good start. You got to add some stuff to it. One of the other things I added to this, which, God, I hope none of you ever have to use this. But it happens to be a local company, so I actually know one of the reps. It's Quick Clot. Now this right here, some of you guys may have seen in movies, like the powder they pour on you. This is gauze. The clay is infused in the gauze, so that's a 2x2, right? And I got a whole bunch of these, and they're just stacked in here. So it's one of those things you don't want to just, someone's bleeding, you don't want to just immediately go to the Quick Clot. All right, it's for something that you're really trying to control. It's not for the faint of heart. It is painful when you use it. It burns. Obviously, I've had it used on me, but I've also used it on my son. He had a cut that just would not stop bleeding, and we wanted to control the bleeding. So I slapped a 4x4 Quick Clot on him, held it, compressed it, and then we rushed him to the ER. And by the time we got there and the doctor got to see him, all the bleeding had stopped because, well, it had clotted up because of the Quick Clot. Now, the problem with the Quick Clot is for a really bad injury and a prolonged exposure, the wound is going to have to be debrided because the chemicals they use in it, the clay, so on and so forth, damages your skin. Right? So if you use it, know that they may have to debride your wound. That's just part of it. All right, so that's covering this. This is available on Amazon. It's not bad. I would just suggest add to it. Make it your own. So coming down a notch, because that is pretty massive, you can order other ones. I've got one right here. Now, this right here is a chest rig from Onward Research. We're still messing around with it. It's got mags and everything in it. But right here, this IFAK right here, little med kit. It's got the tourniquet on the outside. Now, granted, yes, I do have a tourniquet down on the scent pouch, but I always want to have more than just one tourniquet. Sometimes when you use one, the bleeding won't stop, so you need to apply another one above that one. I carry multiple tourniquets per day with me. So when you open up this one, it's got pretty much all the same stuff. I've added similar items: combat gauze, Quick Clot, some extra bandages, some simple band-aids. This one comes with like this tiny little Sharpie for writing notes, and it's also if you're not using the IFAK on you, right? So your buddy has an IFAK and you're using their IFAK on them, then that Sharpie can be used for all kinds of things. Writing down notes, if you're able to get blood pressure, pulse rates, all that good stuff, you can write it right across their forehead. It sounds bad, but that's the easiest place to put it because everybody's going to see it. Versus you put it on like the forearm or something, they may not see it when they're dealing with them in further treatment. As in, if they've got blankets on them, things like that, they're not going to see that information. But if it's blazing across the forehead, everybody's going to see it. So we've covered backpack, we've covered that big IFAK from Amazon. In fact, this too came from Amazon. It's smaller. One thing I did not like about it is vertical versus going horizontal, so that's why it's on this Reiki rig. Though it is kind of big, so when you're wearing it and you're trying to manipulate firearms, things like that, sometimes it possibly could get in the way. What I've done in the past for like my Mayflower Reiki rig, it had, not only did it have the mag pouches, but it had some admin pouches on the side. So one of them I utilized for comms, and the other one was empty. So I put simple things that are like a Write in the Rain, a Write in the Rain pen, which you guys can get, of course, on Amazon. But what I'm saying is, I bought a separate IFAK. I didn't care about what it came in. I literally took the stuff out of something that was smaller than this, threw the pouch into one of the drawers, but I took the guts of it and I packed that admin pouch, so I have an IFAK that is on that Reiki rig that's built into the Mayflower, versus that one is attached with Molly, because when you get a onward research rig, you're just getting the 4, well, you can expand it to 8, but you're just getting a mag carrier. So if you want to add things like radios, IFAKs, anything like that, there are some Molly on the side, but you're going to have to end up adding separate pouches. For my radio, I just went with a Spiritus pouch that's designed for the radio, slapped it on there through the Molly, and rocking and rolling from there. Okay, so we've established, though, that's on my chest rig, which is secondary gear. So I don't just have one, I have multiple ones. So I got the boo-boo stuff in the backpack, but that's, third line gear. So if I've got to ditch something, I can ditch the backpack. I can afford losing Band-Aids. On the chest rig, I've got an IFAK, first aid stuff. It's got Band-Aids among other things in it. But if I have to ditch that, because that's secondary, the primary one, which you're not going to be losing, is your gun belt. And on the back of the gun belt, I have another IFAK. It's in the rear because if you're face down, people can access it. This one right here is from a local company called Real World Concepts. You need a little IFAK that's slim, that is designed to go on a gun belt, so when you sit down, it is not this big giant pouch. This is where you want to order it from. All you have to do is grab one of these tabs from either side, pull, and the contents come right out of this sleeve, and then you have access to everything you need. He does a pretty good job of packing this with everything you're going to need, outside of things like Band-Aids, because this right here, for me, this is only getting pulled out when I'm in desperate need. Versus if I just need a Band-Aid, I am not going to pull this off my gun belt, because it is in the rear. I can't just put it back on. I'd have to take the whole belt off, feed it in. Last thing I want to do is, if I've got my gun in this, mags are full and all that, is start messing with this. That is straight up emergency. So we've taken a look at different size IFAKs. We get them at different places. Amazon, Real World Concepts, and various other places. Army Navy stores, they've got some good ones sometimes. Most of the time you're just going to find the pouch itself, and then you're going to have to build it out. That is not really a big deal. If you think about it, you just run down to your local drugstore and just buy the common stuff. When it comes to like chest seals, nasopharyngeals, if you're doing oral pharyngeals, anything like that, Amazon, you just order them right on Amazon. You can get them prime, next day, 2-day delivery, and you're going to be all set. The reason I don't carry oral pharyngeals is because there's a lot of them. A nasopharyngeal, I have one. It fits probably 98% of the adults out there. Even if it's a little too long, it's still going to work. It's inside the package. Not only do I have the cannula, but it's also got little packets of KY, because you're not just going to stuff this up somebody's nose completely dry. You're going to lube it up before you start ramming it up your nose. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the big boy. When I mean the big boy, this is a big kit. This is something that I bring with me when I'm doing training for one of the big 8-hour classes, or if it's a multi-day course. I also take this on family trips. So if we're going long distances, like if we're driving out to Montana or North Dakota to visit my wife's family, or if we were to drive out to Reno area where my wife's got other family, then I'm going to bring, I gotta literally back up to get this. I'm going to bring this monstrosity. This right here is a massive first aid kit. It's got everything you can imagine in it. This is straight up trauma. It is got all kinds of goodies in it. Everything from sterile ABD pads. It has Neosporin in it. It's got boxes of Kleenex, big bottles of acetaminophen. It's got oropharyngeals, nasopharyngeals, decompression sticks, disposable emergency blankets. It's not like one, there's like 4 or 5 of them in here. I've got a bunch of Kleenex in here. We've got triangular bandages, rolled gauze, and different sizes of rolled gauze, even bigger Sterlex gauze. So outside of the little ones. We got gauze pads, everything you can imagine. I've got a bunch of the little space blankets, these emergency blankets. I think this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 6 of them. Now everyone's like, well, you only need, this is not just for me. This is for my entire family. That's why there's 4 plus of everything. Yeah, if I need it, my kids need it, my wife needs it, so on and so forth. I've got butterfly closures, I've got regular band-aids. It's got ace bandages, whole 9 yards. Anything and everything is in here. This is not something you can just order offline. I mean, they have some that you can get that are pretty expensive. This one, this is just built out of stuff you can find at your local drugstore versus, an Amazon and wherever I could get my hands on it. If one place didn't have it, then I just order it. But it's all the stuff that I've cobbled together, which goes well beyond everything. Whatever is in these, that has 6 times that, and that's why it's so big. So obviously the smaller the pouch, the smaller the stuff, or the less stuff you're going to carry. That's why that one I'm able to add so much more. An IFAK is for you. It's an individual first aid kit. That first aid kit right there is for your family. Okay? Now, other things you can add to it, things that they gave us in the military are combat pill packs. You can't order those online, as far as I know. I have not been able to find anywhere to order a combat pill pack. The combat pill pack is used to where if you're going to be stuck where you're at for a little while. So, coming out of the military, if you're stuck with enemy fire, you can't get a helicopter to come in to evacuate you or evacuate the wounded, and you're stuck in the mud, the mire, the nastiness, well, you're going to get infections. So you want to avoid that. So you take the combat pills. So you need meds. In that big pack, yes, I've got ibuprofen, I've got regular aspirin, and there's some other over-the-counter stuff. But for you to get broad spectrum antibiotics, things like that, which is what's in the combat pill pack. One of the things I do is I just go see my doctor. I'm like, hey, I'm leaving. I'm going to be traveling. And can I get some antibiotics because I'm going to be gone for a while? And I want some, anti-diarrhea stuff, antibiotics, things like that. They'll do this, especially if you're traveling overseas or you're going on a cruise. I'll do it if I'm traveling cross country and I might not be near a VA facility. Granted, I could go to a regular ER, but we did this when we went on a cruise and we went down to the Bahamas and all that. We're like, using a ship doctor will bankrupt you. I just went to my doctor and said, hey, I'm leaving. And they gave me a prescription, filled it. I got everything I needed for that trip, and I was fine. My wife went to her doctor, did the same thing. We got the stuff for the kids, so we were all set. Obviously, this stuff does expire. It doesn't immediately go bad when the expiration hits. You've got about a year or two or more, but it becomes less potent. So if you get yourself or you build yourself some sort of combat pill pack, no, it doesn't last forever. You're going to have to change it out every couple of years, if not annually. All right? So keep that in mind. So with all these first aid kits, IFAKs, boo-boo kits, whatever you're building, outside of being able to just slap a Band-Aid on somebody, for something a little more serious, broken bones, sucking chest wounds, things like that, you are definitely going to need training. I recommend that maybe a local community college has an EMT course. Sign up for it, take the EMT course, become an EMT. You'll have that extra training. At the very least, take a Stop the Bleed class so you understand how to use tourniquets properly and you know when you're supposed to pack a wound, when you're supposed to use a tourniquet, and when you're supposed to seal the wound. It's pretty simple. You can't put a tourniquet on an armpit wound. You can't put a chest seal on an armpit wound. But you can pack the crap out of it with gauze, and that's what you're supposed to do. So crevices like the armpits, you're going to want to pack. If it's on your chest, on the back, you want to seal it. If it's on an extremity, well, hopefully it's low enough to where you can put tourniquets up here to stop the bleeding. Now, when I went through EMT training way back in the 90s, and I'm not dating myself, rule of thumb was tourniquets were the very last thing you use. That's for desperate measures. You want to control bleeding without using a tourniquet. Fast forward to today. Now, if you've got a decent bleeder, you slap a tourniquet on right away. We know now that using a tourniquet, you can have a tourniquet on for hours and still not have too much damage done to whatever you've cut off. So, you get a really bad wound here, you put the tourniquet up here, it can be there for a couple hours before you really start to see any necrosis in the hand, the hand dying off, things like that. Back in the 90s, it was like, it will happen within the hour. After 2001 in Afghanistan, most of the troops that we lost bled out. And that's when we switched to just putting tourniquets on everything immediately. And, I've read stories out there where there was an injured soldier, and they put a tourniquet on his leg, and the tourniquet was there for like 12 hours. They evacuated him finally. We went in for surgery. They did what they had to do. No worse for wear. The tourniquet saved his life. So, have multiple tourniquets with you always. I know you can get them pretty cheap on Amazon, and if you don't want to do that, because you can buy like a pack of 5, which is good to have, you can get them on Alibaba. Granted, they're going to be Chinese made, and you're paying like $1 a piece for them, so they're dirt cheap. But you got to look at it when you put that tourniquet on and you start to spin the windlass, which I better explain what that is in case you don't know. I'm sure most of you do. The metal bar right here, that's your windlass. So when you tie this around the arm, and you feed it through, and you Velcro it up, that windlass, you start cranking it down. till the bleeding stops. All right, these are not supposed to be comfortable. When you put this on for like training, which you should train, when someone puts this on you, if it doesn't hurt, if it is not excruciating, it's not on tight enough. All right, that one I literally just came out of my pants pocket. I carry one on me all the time, on me. Plus, I have them in the IFAKs. I have them in the med kits. I have them in my truck. I've got a bunch of them in my office at work. We've got them all over the place here at the house. You can never have enough. That's just my thought, because, well, if you have one and you're putting it on and it breaks, you want backups. So, there you go with that. So, the moral of the story, prepare. You're going to get boo-boos. Whether it's a simple cut at the range from a slide bite, you might slip on some brass, fall, skin your knee. You want to be able to take care of it, clean it up, and maybe that range doesn't have a first aid kit. Or maybe you're on your buddy's property and you're shooting. There is no range first aid kit available. It's up to you. You can buy all the cool guy stuff in the world, but if you don't have the training, you're not going to know what to do with it. You're not going to know how to use it properly. So get training. I can't say that enough. Now, some things that are out there that you shouldn't be touching. Decompression needles. Now, some of the IFAKs that you get, actually one of mine has a decompression needle in it. I don't know anybody outside of prior military that has any experience with decompression needles. And the last thing I want is somebody that doesn't know what they're doing shoving a giant, massive, like 14 gauge needle into my chest. That's for the professionals. Not even a paramedic's going to do that. That is going to be the hospital staff right off the get-go. The only reason I have one, it came with the kit. I know how to use one. Like I said, most veterans out there have that training, and they know how to use one. When I took the EMT course, I asked them about that, and they were like, yeah, we don't do anything like that, and neither do paramedics. That's something they do with the ER if need be. So there you go. Don't waste your money on decompression needles or trying to hunt them down. All right? Well, that's all I have to say about that stuff. Feel free to blow up the comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you guys carry, everyday carry-wise, when it comes to IFAKs, first aid kits, things of that nature. Let me know if I missed anything. All right? I'll see you guys on the comments. I'll talk to you later. Till the next video. Bye. I was told in one of the last videos, because I have a hat on, it was a little too dark right here. So George, I made the lights brighter. I got a ring light to shine light on my face so it doesn't look so ominous like you said it did when we were talking about the Tennessee stuff. All right, so there you go. Good advice. Thanks, George.